right, we are back. Oh, and I'm out of breath. Man, the stuff that happens behind the scenes. We are back. Welcome to the HEF podcast. That is the podcast of the Home Education Foundation. The Home Education Foundation is an organization that was started by our beloved founders, Brenda Dickinson and Craig Dickinson, as they fought to secure home education rights for parents across the state of Florida. It did not sit well with Brenda and her husband that parents had to jump through loopholes and hide their children because public school was the only acceptable norm, legally protected in statute alongside private schools. And so she wanted to see parents be able to teach their own children, set their own values, to educate them themselves. And that's essentially what home education is. Everybody calls it homeschooling, but it's really freedom to educate however you see fit. Whether it looks like a school or not, it's yours to do, and you can do it. 1002.41 in Florida Statutes gives you a home education program and protections and carves it out as not a public education school district program, but is registered with the school district for the purposes of attendance only. And it's such a key distinction. It's so important. And we're so thankful for the work that Brenda and Craig did in those early days in founding the Home Education Foundation in, I think it was 1991 or 2, and then continuing to be the voice of parents in the Capitol for the next 40 years. We've so many things to be thankful for, from dual enrollment to Bright Futures participation to other participation in scholarships that are available to all the other students. And we can play sports at public schools and private schools across the state. There are so many things that home education students today get to enjoy because we have had someone as the voice of parents in the Capitol. They're protecting our rights, and we still have someone. I guess I am that someone now. Brenda has done an amazing job, and we keep her legacy and her memory alive. But my name is Jason Crawford, and I guess some people would say I'm the new Brenda, and we're here to carry the torch forward so that the Home Education Foundation can continue to be the voice of parents in the Capitol, period, and that our rights are protected because they need to be. We're thankful to the parents of the free state of Florida for everything that you do to make the personal sacrifices to take care of your own children, to raise them, to teach them, to take them out of that classroom and make life a classroom. And we love you and we appreciate you, and we're especially thankful to those who support us. We're also thankful to our top sponsors, Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. These are our top sponsors, but I have to say, we're not backed by some big conglomeration. These particular organizations are run by people who are home education people, and they believe in the work that we do and the importance of it. And if you have a organization that's doing well and you'd like to see your rights protected and advocated for, you can join them as a top sponsor. And we thank you for doing that, just the same way that the parents do that as well. Well, Brenda, we are back.
You might mention the top sponsors. Those are businesses,
Yes.
actually, and because we're 501c3, they can get it as a tax deduction for their business if they decide to join as a top sponsor or even a monthly supporter.
That is 100% correct. And mentioning our monthly supporters, it's a good time, I guess, to start this episode with a call to action for our support. Let's dive into it a little bit. Brenda, you can't see this, but I have it up on the screen. We're in the middle of our donation match challenge, our annual donation match challenge. And this is 2026's. You can join us by going to flhef.org/support and picking one of the convenient support options that are there. I will say that this is something we try to do annually now, to do something official for our fundraising. I've seen the numbers go up and go down throughout the year, and it's always just a matter of praying and keeping on doing the work regardless. But it's nice to be able to have the funds to do the things that we do. We are in the final week. If you don't know, we've been doing this for the entire month. It runs the entire month. And what it is a home education family has anonymously approached us with a challenge that they will donate a lump sum of $6,000 if we can raise that during this time period. And so what we try to do each year is go out and find people who are willing to pledge or sign up. And the way that that works is if you sign up for like a $5 or $10 monthly, the total amount for that for the year is counted toward the pledge. And if you donate a lump sum, like a single one-time donation, that is also counted toward it. And so it should be relatively easy to hit. I think what we need is just 50, but we'll get to that later. A little bit about who we are. If you're new to the podcast, if you're new to the Home Education Foundation, we actually have a guest on with us today. I'll introduce soon. But she's new to the work that we do, and she's not new to what she does, but she's new to the work that we do. And it's always great to find people who haven't heard of us before, and they're excited about what it is that we do, or those who just didn't know all of what we do, and they start to discover all of the pieces, and they're like, wow, this is so important. And it's a breath of fresh air. But we protect parents' rights. We speak up for parents in the Capitol, and also we work to build key relationships with organizations that are in our governing body and throughout the state that work with parents. And sometimes there's a little bit of misinformation, and it's not necessarily malicious. It's just they're busy trying to do their job, and maybe a new person has come into a position and they're unaware, and we're there to constantly remind of what parents' rights are, where they can be found in statute, and when a local policy diverts from a parent being able to exercise their right. We're going to talk a little bit about that today because that's what our guest is here for. So if you're wondering who it is that supports us, I will say that we have about 152,000 home education students registered in the state of Florida, and only 103 families in our support queue. So the parents or families who donate in to support the work that we do. And if you're unaware, that's less than 10% of 1%. It's a very small number. So if you're wondering if there is a need, there in fact is a great need. And not to like pour salt in an open wound, but I was checking the numbers against the numbers last year at this time, and last year we had more families supporting us than we do now. So those fall offs and the attrition from payment methods not being updated and input is very real to us, especially. So just an FYI. And my question here is, what if 1% supported the work that we did, even just 1%? We would be funded in a completely different way than 10% of 1%. It would mean a game-changing amount of work that we could do, and perhaps start growing the team. There's a lot of work to do, man. There's so much. The times are different now. The communication game and strategy is different with social media. You have to be posting constantly, but the work has to be done constantly. It's not something that only happens during legislative session. I think a lot of people ask me that when you're going on vacation after legislative session is over, and they're like, oh, you're going to get a break now. And I'm like, no, I don't do vacations. I don't do breaks. It's great to watch other people go enjoy theirs, though. It's fun. No, it doesn't bother me because I live a very purposeful and meaningful life, and every day I wake up fighting someone, and that's more than enough to wake me up and get the blood flowing. But it can get exhausting, so we do appreciate your support. I will say that the campaign is almost over. It does only run until the end of August. Today is August 24th, and so if you're seeing this and it's Wednesday or Thursday, it's even more of an urgent thing. Help us spread the word that this is the final week of the donation match challenge, and we have raised roughly 10 out of the 50. So if you look at how many supporters that we need to onboard, we have about 10 out of the 50 that we need. So if you're thinking about it, you could become one of those 50. All you have to do is go to our website, flhef.org/support, and pick one of the support tiers, something that fits your family's budget. If there's none that fit your family's budget, I think the lowest one is $5 a month. But if that, things are hard and that doesn't fit your budget, then by all means, don't support us. It is perfectly okay. We are not trying to guilt anyone into supporting us, and none of our services, I'll say, are charged for. So if you need our help, you just call us. It's not something that we have a membership fee for the work that we do. It's the work that needs to be done, and we believe in it, and we do it. And that's how it works around here. We have about 1,200 of the 6,000 that has been raised. And we're really hopeful and looking forward to seeing all of the rest of the donations come. I think last year I was panicking, but like the very last day of the month is when it all happened. Things all came together. So I'm hopeful that maybe we're just on that trajectory again. But we appreciate all the support that parents do give, and we're here to continue doing it. Brenda, would you like to add anything?
I think people need to understand that the money that comes in to support HEF Connect is what goes to pay Jason to do the work that he does year round. And people, I don't fault them, because if they're not here, they don't know. But it is constant calls from parents who have problems getting their child into a particular school or into a particular sport, or wanting to have their child be in the band, and they're saying, no, you can't. And so it takes time and it takes contacts, and generally we're pretty successful in working things out. I would say 99% of the time we're successful in helping that one child. But people don't know that it might be them next. And then where do you turn to get the help that has contact with the school districts, with the Department of Education, who can pull some strings for us? We're getting constant calls on the scholarships, and Jason is in the background working to make all of this go smoothly. And like he said, there's no time off. When I did the work that he's doing now for 40 years, I missed lots of trips with family and things, because it was like carrying an anvil around on your shoulders all the time. If you miss one thing, it could just mess up the whole system that we had going for freedom for parents. And it was a huge responsibility. And fortunately, I've been able to pass the anvil on to, it's different than a torch. Torch is bright and it's flaming and everybody sees it. The anvil you have on your back is heavy, and it's a big responsibility. And so for those people that enjoy the freedoms that we've worked so hard for and continue to work to protect, and we know a couple of things that need to be changed, and it would be finding a bill sponsor, talking it up so that people understand why it needs to be changed, and talking to the governor's office. It's a lot of work that goes into getting the rights that you have in Florida come into being. And so I would just say, you're enjoying the freedoms to home educate your children, and $5 a month is really a minimum, because if you were sending them to a private school, you'd be spending $10,000, $15,000 a year to get your child into a private school. Even with a scholarship, I'm understanding that the scholarship is paying a little over half of the tuition, not to mention uniforms and sports activities and all the other fees that come along with going to a private school. So yes, you don't have to put money out to someone else to home educate, but somebody is making sure that you continue to have those rights. So please, if there's any way possible, help us meet the challenge, because that way we earn $6,000 more than what parents have donated if we can meet our goal. So please consider doing it now. It'd be great if you continued to do it all through the year, but if you can only make a one-time contribution, now's the time to do it.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think that's a wonderful way to segue into our guests. So I'm very appreciative. We do have comments coming in, so let me read them. Christina says, yes, double exclamation point, hands in the air emoji. She's so thankful for the work that HEF does. I'm always sharing HEF with our group and the incredible work that you do that we may take for granted. That's very thankful for you saying that. Thank you so much. We were reached out. Let's go ahead and introduce our guest. It's finally time that we get there. Laura, thank you for being with us today. Laura is a homeschool mom of 3 girls in Orange County. She was also formerly homeschooled herself and pursued dual enrollment to graduate college early and debt-free, which is great. That's the best way to do it if you're going to do it. Her big why behind her decision, her family's decision to homeschool was that had a lot to do with her incredible experience as a homeschool student herself. And their focus is on self-paced learning, regulated nervous systems, and preparing their children to just be good humans. And we're thankful that you're on. I love that it's not about listing your credentials and your certificates and, like being a mom, being able to teach your kids. It's your duty and your right, and you're qualified for it from the get-go. And that it's just such a beautiful thing. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You helped us kind of pinpoint something that was happening in Orange County. And, I wanted to bring you on and let you kind of talk about that issue and share some of your experience with that. It's been wonderful to have someone like you reach out to us and be so active in your own community and kind of leading other parents in your cooperative community. Why don't you roll us into the issue, maybe kind of how you came about it or how you saw it. There will be some parents who might be listening who might have also seen it. They can resonate with it.
Yes. So I sent in a letter of intention for my second daughter, who is she's compulsory age this year. And I usually, like my past experience going back and forth with evaluations and a previous letter of intent for my oldest was really simple, really quick turnaround for receiving a response for that. And this year I got like a really quick email back about how the new process of registering for home education is through their focus portal. And I clicked on that and I clicked on it and I must have had an account already, which is, I probably did create one before, but I haven't done anything in there. So I go in there and I saw, for one, it was expecting me to register both of my kids for home education, which from my understanding, you do
That's
one
right.
letter of intent per kid. So seeing that for my oldest was for like first thing, like first flag for me. Went in to kind of see like maybe this is just where they want us to submit our letter of intent. No, it's a bunch of new paperwork basically, and it just starts with a bunch of demographic information. And I go back, I get out of there, I go back and I email them and I say, hey, this is what the Florida Statute says. I've submitted my letter of intent. I'll be in touch with an evaluation. I copy in my evaluator and the super, and I don't ever get a response back. So as of right now, I don't know if my kids have been, I don't know what their process is for kids who are already home educated students and are in their third year of that. But as far as I know, my daughter, who's now new to home education, has not been registered. So that said, I know that I've received a response from the district, and that's, I've done my due diligence here. But as a mom who likes to I like to keep my ducks in a row. I'm very A-type. I like, printing off the confirmation that I have that everything's been recorded, and not receiving that makes me anxious, basically. So, I haven't heard back from them. I've heard, I'm a part of a couple homeschool pages where other Orange County moms have reported kind of the same thing of this is a new thing and we're not used to doing this for our older students. And that's when I was directed to give you guys a call, and you guys have been so helpful. Didn't know you existed before this. So it is good that you're getting your name out there, you know. I'm hearing about you from other people who are encountering the same issue.
That's good. I'll go ahead and read, because we reached out to the Department of Education, our contacts over there, and I'm going to go ahead and just read their response to the email they sent me back. They said, "Hi, Jason. I have discussed the situation with the Orange County Home Education Coordinator, and they have been told they cannot require the use of focus when parents want to fill out the letter of intent to begin a home education program. We have also had parents contact us from Orange County with the same concern, and I shared the same statement with them. I do not know of any official statement coming from the DOE to address this situation with district superintendents, though I do believe it has been brought to the leadership's attention." So that is, just to be clear, to be absolute transparent, that is in fact the word that we received direct to parents, that you do not have to use the focus system. You can send in your letter of intent directly in paper and mail it in. As a caution, I would probably suggest, this is Jason Crawford's opinion, but I would probably suggest taking a picture, you know, as you kind of mail it and put it in the envelope, and take a picture of the letter of intent, and then, you know, mailing it, take a picture of yourself, like a selfie, and just so you have a record that you did send it, because, hey, you know, things like this have also been known to go missing on the county side, and it is their duty to keep record of that, but as long as you have proof that you did it, you did it.
Well, it would be good if you attached a return receipt requested, so they have to sign for it, and then you absolutely have proof it's there. Well, sometimes post office loses things, but if they've signed, you know, it got to the school district. Whether they get it to the right office or not is their issue.
So those are recommendations, not requirements, but it will help you kind of keep an eye and protect yourself in the event that they say they lost their paperwork. I've had a county do that. We're able to help get that one resolved, but you know, to avoid little things like that, it's pretty useful. If you want to use their focus system, you can. That's also, you know, you're capable of doing it that way as well, if you want to, but you don't have to. And I think that we encourage parents to push back whenever you can. You know, not necessarily just for the purpose of being an obstacle, but for the sake of reminding them that you're the parent and you are in charge. And it is at your direction that the home education program starts and stops. It is not with their permission or once they give you access to their system. So these are just very subtle but very important differences, and they're spelled out in statute that way for a reason. So I'm very thankful. Go ahead.
I can understand why they would want you to use
100%.
that system.
Yeah.
Because it saves them the energy and the time to put your letter in their system. They're probably going to put it in there anyway. But we want to make sure that we preserve what's in the law and make sure they understand that they have to follow the law. They can't just make up whatever they want to make up, because it's an inconvenience to them for you to send it in
100%,
paper.
yes.
Right.
Laura, did you want to add?
I will say, going in there, I had been curious if it was just they were going to ask us to submit the letter we wrote out ourselves, that, you know, it has all the requirements all the information that they need. If that was going to be the new place to put it. And again, like, I know that there's what it's spelled out what we have to do. So I'm content emailing it. It was going in there and finding, okay, here are pages and pages and pages of information that I have to fill out for my kids who don't go to school here. And that was kind of it for me. You know, if my kid was involved in the sports, if they went to the school there, that of course that's stuff I'm going to fill out for them. But being completely in charge of their education and knowing what the law spells out for what I'm supposed to give over, I'm like, I'm not going to fill all this out. I'm going to just, you know, give what I'm supposed to give.
Certainly.
Good for you, Laura. It's great when somebody actually reads the law and knows what's required.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I have, I was gonna say, I mean, I've had so many helpful. One of the people who told me to give you guys a call was Cheryl Trasco from. She's an evaluator. She's my evaluator that we use. She has a homeschool page, um, and there are people like you guys who spell everything out for us and answer the questions. And I think that you also kind of tamp down when we get scared, like, oh, we're scared, like they rejected my letter of intent, and you guys are like, okay, I'm going to spell this out for you. Here's how this goes. We have relationships with these people. We know how the districts work, and you guys have plenty of communication, and I think that's having people like you who really do understand or create the law, like help put it into action, basically. That's been such a help to me as a parent, and it's kind of kept me grounded in this whole process.
That's really good that you say that. I do spend quite a bit of time on the phone with parents helping ground situations, because they're like, well, what happens next, and where does it go next? And I think that in my conversations with parents, maybe the hardest thing for the parent is the waiting. Because the law says what it says, and they're going to push. The counties are going to push back, or they're going to have their policies, and they're going to interface with the Department of Education, and they're going to go back and forth until they get to the fine print of what the law does say and how the policies have to be subservient to the law on down. But that takes time. They have to go back and forth. They're doing it with 67 counties, and there's hundreds of thousands of kids, and it I can only imagine the behemoth of work that they actually handle over at the Department of Education, and everybody's software is out of date. Let's just be honest about that. So I understand when they're also doing systems like Focus, what they're attempting to do, but in the statute 1002.41, it states that the notice must be in writing, signed by the parent, and include full legal names, addresses, and birth dates of all the children. Period. So if you're starting to embark on using this system and it's asking you for a ton of information and you just don't want to give it, you do not have to. Period. All that is required for you to give to start your home education program are those things listed here: full legal name, address, and birth date of all the children that will be enrolled in the home education program. That's it. If they ask you for more information because it's helpful to them, or they would really help them down the road when you need this and when you need that, and what if we don't have this information but we end up needing it, it's called asking. And when you need it and it's needed, we can give it. But all that's needed for the letter of intent is those three things: the full legal names, the address, and the birth dates. So if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to worry about it. You stick to what's in the statutes. If you need an advocate, we're here for you. You call us. We'll be happy to work on that. And in fact, thank you, Laura, for joining our Discord, because when things like this happen, it can be very difficult to coordinate 100 different emails and where everybody's at in the process with the different 100 emails and going back and forth with different. So coalescing all of that into the Orange County channel that's in our Discord server is super helpful and a great way to kind of consolidate and be efficient as we jump on issues like this. So thank you for joining our Discord and pointing people to that as a resource.
Yes.
Brenda, go.
One thing I'd like to say is that because the superintendent's designated person over home education, a few years ago felt like they needed that additional information, and they kept pushing and pushing, and we had to go back and add a line in the statute that said that the superintendent cannot ask for any additional information, and it's in law, other than what is required in the statute, unless it's for the purpose of participating in an activity at a public school. For example, if they're going to play sports, then they're going to ask for more information, which is under a different section of law, and they have the right to do that. But just for somebody that signs up to home educate their children and they're not asking for anything else from the district, the superintendent by law cannot ask for anything else.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be curious to know if they coded those parents in the focus as home education students. How do they code them in that system if that's what they use for all the other students in the public schools?
Probably. I get the sense that the districts are trying to move toward a solution to what Senator Gates was describing, where they don't know where a particular student is at any given point in time. And they're trying to track the funding, and they're trying to make the cross checks easier. I think there's a need to move to a single software source that can be used, especially by the Department of Education. Whether it's the same one that all of the 67 districts are forced to contract with and use, I don't know. But at the very least, a singular system that the DOE can use that functions to help them track that the other ones can API integrate with would be of great benefit, because all of this stuff being handled manually is just it's a lot of work. It's challenging. The home education office is kind of fractured apart from the public schools, and they don't all coordinate perfectly. And then that gets to the school board and the district, and they send that up to the DOE. And by the time it's gone through the different levels and tiers, there's so many opportunities for error as it goes up. A single uniform system of software would be helpful, but I know that also is like
extremely expensive.
Yeah, it is. And it's a little dystopian, scary, to be honest with you. I don't want to be in some system. I don't like that idea. I don't want to be in some report.
The real problem isn't for home education students that are registered with the district. The problem on tracking is with the scholarships. And so the district doesn't have any way to know where those scholarship students are, because they're not required to register with the superintendent. And then when they track the money, they don't know whether the student is getting scholarship money, which they may still be registered at the district. They're not supposed to be, but they're double funding. I think that's what Senator Gates was getting at, not just for home education students. I was just trying to clarify.
Yeah, that's
that
valid.
point. So it's not home education students that they're worried about.
No, not really. In fact, there are some. I think specifically PEP is the one that does not have a student number, an FLE ID number. And if they've not been in a public school or anything like that before, and they've just been put into PEP, they're not going to have an FLE ID because it's not required for PEP. So then it's a matter of, and it's not able to be used, I don't believe, by Step Up for Students as a form of tracking them. So it gets confusing because the multiple points of data that they use to track which student is which can also be non-uniform. So if John is Jonathan Stark Gravy, but we call him Johnny. So on one he's John, and another he's Jonathan, and another he's Johnny. These are three different students by a system reading it and looking at it. And so that also tends to overcomplicate it. So having a uniform system where they're all using the same full legal name and address, etc., that's going to be needed.
Those are not social security numbers. Those are an assigned number that DOE has given those students who've never been in public school. We actually put that in statute. They cannot ask for your child's social security
Thank you for that, Brenda.
number. We have to be specific.
Thank you for that too, Brenda.
Yeah, it asks for, when I went in there, it asks for grade level. I mean, I saw my older daughter had been assigned a grade level, which is, particularly, inaccurate because I have a daughter who has a late birthday. She's like an early August birthday. We made the decision to, I know there's a lot of homeschoolers that just don't do grade levels. It helps me with our curriculum. So I tend to, but I held her technically, and so it's an inaccurate reflection of where she's at. And I'm not sure if that will pose an issue when it comes to terminating homeschool eventually.
No.
But I mean, like you were talking about, having something kind of streamlined between all of the different departments and offices there, it makes total sense that there's a need for that. I think what's hard is it almost feels like there should have been different programming for what's accepted or like expected from homeschool parents to submit. And, I can see how a portal would be really efficient. I'd say, just being able to submit my little letter of intent would be,
Hmm.
super easy, but that's not what they're asking for. And it feels like a more of a
Yeah.
complication as a homeschool
Yeah.
parent. And inconsistent with what the law says too, because I don't even know if they require a signature from me. And if that is, it's not asking me to do what I am
Yeah,
supposed
sure.
to
So
do.
I think,
Well, the problem is that each district can choose what kind of data system that they use. And so they don't communicate with each other. There's probably 5 or 6 different ones out there that the
Mhm.
districts are using. And then they don't all communicate with the one that the Department of Education is using. So it makes it, especially if you're looking at the media when they're saying, oh, all this money and parents are defrauding the system. No, parents aren't.
yeah.
It's the system that is defrauding itself.
Yeah, I had kind of talked with someone in the Senate staff. It was one of the Senate president's staff, and I was kind of describing what I thought would be a very functional and helpful origin point, because the key for solving a lot of this is a clean origin point for the data. And cross-checking data against a clean origin point is great. Right now, the schools themselves act as the origin points. All the different schools act as the origin points for the data, and then that gets sent up to the school boards, and then that gets sent to the Department of Education, and you hope that it's accurate, and it quite possibly is. But if the Department of Education were to contract for a software system to be built that parents across the state could go to the DOE and register their child when it's time, and then that student could say, here's my number, I want to go to this school, I want to go to that school, I want to get this scholarship, I want to do that. Then you have a uniform origin point for the data that's clear. And if you take that and then go to the scholarship, or you go to the private school or the public school, it can orchestrate a lock in the software system so that it can't then be released to go anywhere else until it's unlocked by unenrolling in that current one. So then it's just a matter of having that single origin point, and then taking that around and going where it is you choose to go, free to go do that. But then it locks out the others. That way you don't have to worry about the cross check. You can't be in 2 at once. That would formulate a very simple, and I don't think that would be that complicated. The complicated part is going to be in the security and all the different points of access that you have to that information, and information that shouldn't be gotten by, accessible to other people based off of all of the compliance issues they have to keep up with. But the other thing that you mentioned that I thought I wanted to kind of chime in on is in the same statutes that define and protect home education programs. It's in 1002.41b. It says that the district school superintendent shall accept the notice and immediately register the home education program upon the receipt of the notice. That's an imperative. The district may not require any additional information or verification from the parent unless the student chooses to participate in a school district program or service. That's what Brenda was talking about earlier. And then it states, the district school superintendent may not assign a grade level to the home education student or include the social security number or any other personal information of the student in any district or state database unless the student chooses to participate in a school district program or service. And so that is also key. I don't know that you would run into that as a conflict for graduating your student from your home education program, but in the event that you wanted to participate in something like sports with the FHSAA or something to that effect, it may create a limiting factor when it comes to participating in those if you have held them back and then they go into what you believe is 9th, and in their system they're showing as 10th. Now they only have 3 years to play instead of 4. So, that is something that can be fixed with an email. And if you run into any issues with that, just let us know. You can just request that they remove it. And then if they can't because their system won't allow it, then we will advocate with you at the DOE that they code in a way to make it allowable, because it needs to be removed
Yes.
as they cannot assign it and you didn't place them in one. So you send that email and you start that, and we'll be right there with you arm in arm to make sure that gets to the right places and the outcomes are what they should be by law. So state.
We were having a problem a few years ago because the school districts were terminating home education programs the day that the student turned 19, even if it was in the middle of the year. And that's one of the things we'll fight, because they were going by grade level. So, they were turning 19 and they were a senior in the middle of their senior year of home education. They were saying, sorry, you can't play sports. You can't do any of these other things like dual enrollment or Florida virtual, because you're done. Well, we had to fight that battle, but now they don't do that. And most of the districts, I don't know what they're doing now, because every time somebody changes in that position, they come in with a way to streamline, make it easier, make it follow the public school timelines. And then we have to go back and refight those battles again. But we did have it where the districts understood they could not assign a grade level. But there it is in statute, so you can always use it.
This is something that's so important to us as well when we're looking at the candidates for governor, because it isn't just about what side of the aisle that you sit on or what color your jersey is, which team you root for. It all comes down to the kind of understanding the candidates from a standpoint of what philosophical lens they look at their duties and roles through. If they're, a hammer coming in to break things, that can be useful, but someone who comes in wanting to streamline the finances and the economy, that's great. But, at the cost of taking away choices parents have and authority parents have, that's not so great. So there is a way where listening carefully, to what they say, I might believe something is important over here on this end or over on that end, but the fabric of our whole community, our whole society, is pinned to the parents. The family unit, the dissolution of the family unit, my wife was sharing with me, and she didn't give me the exact study, but we were talking about it the other day. This study that she was reading about that they had conducted that just talked about the number of words spoken in a home between the parents and the child. And it was this long-term study, and the level of outcome, the success that they had at the end of that, and it was a dramatic success outcome predictor, that if there were more words spoken in the home versus less, that you have the child far more likely to succeed in life by great measures. It wasn't even close. And I should get the study and pull it up, and maybe we will. Maybe we'll parse through that and talk about that on one of the podcasts in the future. But it struck me as a dynamic because the family unit is fiercely predictive of success outcomes in life, period. Where you get your education is not as important as what happens in the home, that you have one, how that's intact. And protecting parental rights and protecting those homes is key. That's one of the reasons why we fight so hard for home education. It isn't because of the house or the roof or the walls that it's in. Education can happen anywhere. It's that the parent should have the right to be the one to do it, to decide it, to form it, to pivot when it's not working, to be the one to say it's not working and why they think it's not working, and that be enough, and make their own shifts, and their judgment is supreme. That's key. Do parents make mistakes? Of course they do, and they should be free to own those mistakes too. It's so important to remember and to realize that, and I think that our districts struggle with that in a big way. We've got a situation with another mom the county. Oh no, I know. I remember the county. I'm not going to say what county it is, but uh, her student was in public school and she was doing well, right? She was doing okay. She's a nice. She's quiet. She gets along. She's uh, behaviorally fine, studious, making great grades. She's enjoying the extracurriculars, the chorus and orchestra, and so they move her to a classroom. Her and a couple of other girls. They move her to a classroom that is a little bit more rambunctious, and for whatever reason, the teacher's out, and they're trying to have a sub or something while the other teacher gets back. There's, everybody's got things going on, and it tarnishes this experience for this student because rather than pull that class's chaos down to a level of normalcy, it just threw chaos into this child's life. And she started to hate school. She started to really resent having to go. She talked to her mom and said, I don't want to go anymore. And from what the mom was expressing to me, like, this kid sang the theme song to the school all the time. Like, she just loved the school. She loves going to school. That's great. But this kind of ruined it for her. So she decided, okay, we'll homeschool. And they sent in their letter of intent. And the school decided they weren't going to accept the letter of intent. The county wasn't going to accept the letter of intent until the parent returned the instrument that they had rented from the school. And so I got involved and I said, well, I don't know what the contract looks like. And then they sent me a contract and I was like, yeah, there's nothing in this contract that allows you to supersede what it states in the statutes, which says you shall immediately accept and register the home education program upon receipt of the notice. And so then we got an email back that says, oh, well, looks like we're going to go ahead and accept it and process it. But they dragged their feet for just enough days to do the 6-day head count. Imagine that. They dragged their feet for just long enough that that student could be counted among the students for funding. But we can't track where the students are at any given time, and we don't know if we've double funded students or not. Yeah, you do. You do on a local level. This school made this process so difficult and onerous for this parent and for the student. The student wanted to go participate in the orchestra and band, which they can do by law. They still can do. And they said, oh, well, you've registered as home education, so now you're booted from that program. And so we've been fighting to get them to be able to participate back and forth. And we get the same run around that, oh, we're at capacity. And so I pulled the school's records and I said, actually, you're not at capacity. I have your capacity right here. It's listed publicly on this website. And it has to be legally. And they're like, well, so we're going back and forth right now, digging over this issue. But they have made the process so difficult. The parent was asking their child, listen, if they'll just put you back in the other room, if they'll like make all of this go away, would you like to go back? And the kid said no. And I gotta say that they don't understand the power and the authority that parents do and should have over their children's outcomes and what's good for them. And they need to start showing a little respect and appreciation for that, because parents do have the freedom to go elsewhere with or without funding, period. And parents are choosing that. It's almost like the school is Chick-fil-A, and, you know, I show up with my 5 kids, but one of my kids wants a burger. They don't want Chick-fil-A. I've got one of those kids. And they look at me and go, we're not gonna serve you any Chick-fil-A. None. Because you like a burger over there. No way, man. We're not letting you participate in extracurriculars. We're not letting you take this class or that class. They think of themselves as a business, but they don't act like one. What they should do when a parent decides to homeschool is they should say, you know what? Good for you for exercising your right. We hope that works out well for you. In the meantime, are there any classes you would like to still take from us? And then, if they treated that parent so sweetly on their exit, and so thoughtfully and encouraging and reassuring that we're here for you and we're community, and not treat them like an anathema or a cold sore, they might actually have a parent who wants to stay and take this class or that class. But you know what? Now we just want to go find Mathnasium or any other any other provider we can get our hands on that would help us instead of you. And until you solve that attitude problem, we're still going to have those issues because you don't recognize that you're a steward of the children and you're a steward of the tax dollars entrusted to you to execute a public education program. And you need to start realizing that. And parents, good for you for standing up for yourselves and making decisions for your own family. Don't you ever feel disempowered. If you feel confused, if you feel like stuff is being thrown in your face in emails or over your head or asked of you or required of you and you're not sure, please contact us and we will comb through the statutes with you. We will post links to it and sources. We will not give you our opinions. We will show you what your rights are and we will help you stand for them because you can. The family is yours. The children are yours, period. Full stop. Brenda, you've been leaning in. Say it.
Yeah, the interesting thing is the school district, it's a win-win if they let the kids come back because they get to count them for funding. And so they're screaming they don't have enough money, give us more money. And then a parent says, well, I'd like for my child to take band. And they go, no. Well, they could have gotten the money for that child for that class. So they just turned away money.
They're going to have to refund the instrument too. And they're not going to get paid for the band class. Yeah. And I'm going to help the parent run it up to the top of the DOE so that they ensure that they don't get counted in the 6-day count. And I will help them with all of the goodness in my heart, and I will hold that line. Absolutely, 100%. If they're not helping the kid, why should they get paid for it? Period. The parent's doing all the work. They shouldn't. Period. Yeah, we'll fight for that. 100%.
So many times it comes down to funding instead of what's best for the child.
Yes, they like to say one thing and do another, and that's, well, we know what we call people like that, but it is what it is. Laura, thank you so much for being with us today. It is time for us to wrap up, but I don't think I had shared that with you before, so if you have a reaction or you want to say something, go for it.
Oh, I mean, it's been a pleasure to be on. I'm still learning a lot of, I am not like a scholarship parent with homeschooling. So I still have a lot to learn about all the aspects of school choice and, home education in its entirety. So, it's really great to hear other people's experiences and to know that, we can lean on you guys, just put a little more weight in the anvil.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you again for joining the Discord. It's great. I'm really looking forward to seeing little by little, like someone in each county is kind of popping up and going, yeah, hey, I'll help people know about things that are going on. And that is so important to the work that we do because we can't be everywhere at once. But as the parents who live in the local municipalities are able to report on issues, then we're able to discover them and interface with them and advocate for them, which is it's so helpful to what we do to be that hub and be able to do that. So thank you for joining our Discord. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
I think I have exhausted all of the words people will allow me to say without calling myself a monologuing Disney villain. So I'm going to quit and I'm going to let Brenda wrap up today. Brenda, last words.
I just encourage everybody that's listening, and Laura, you too, to just spread the word that we have a challenge going on this month and there's not much time left. So not only will we miss out on the $6,000 we could raise to pay Jason, but we're going to miss out the $6,000 matching grant. And that would be really sad to lose that much support when people might decide they're going to support in September or December. Now's the time so that we can bring in additional support money. So please ask your parents to put in $5 if you're a homeschool parent, and you can ask grandparents, because most grandparents are super supportive of home education that's being done for their grandchildren, but they don't know that somebody is out here fighting for those rights and could easily donate $5 a month or $10 a month to help support the work that's being done on a daily basis. So please spread the word.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, without further ado, we'd like to say thank you to the parents in the free state of Florida for all of the work that you do. We're here with you. This, by the way, that's up on the screen is our new challenge coin for 2026. If you are a participant this year in the donation match challenge, you will get one of these. So as you're filling out your support, make sure to put your address in. Those will come your way. And then also thank you to Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. And without anything further, it's been Monday. It's been real. It is August 24th, 2026, and this is the final week of August. We will have one more episode to wrap up August on the 31st. Join us again, and we'll wrap up August with the final day of the Donation Match Challenge. Thank you all for your support, and thank you for all that you do. Have a great Monday.